message from Elizabeth to Honorable Namuga. Tell Honorable Namuga that he should also campaign to rationalize our parliament. There are 535 members in the United States Congress, 100 in Senate, and 435 in the House of Representatives. Okay. So you start with that one as well for your next rationalization campaign. But George Musi, as Lydia pointed out, and Honorable Namuga also pointed that out a little earlier, both UCDA and the ministry and NRM, so to speak, they are government. So now when you have tribal undertones where it is alleged that a speaker is whispering or even planning with a whip,
it is not the position of the NRM
to defeat a section of her people. So how does that come across?
Well, yes, they are both government, but what was the purpose of having these specialized agencies in the first place? The purpose was to ensure efficiency in a particular sector. That is why they were got out of the mother ministries, and that's why it informed the basis of forming them in the first place. That let's have a specialized sector dealt with specifically for purposes of efficiency. And just like that debate was lost because some of them were formed as a result of politics, then even the essence of rationalization is being lost in the politics, because the essence of rationalization would have been informed by how has this agency been performing, looking at each one of them in the first place. And I want to imagine that going by the reports I've been seeing, UCDA is one of those that have been performing quite well. And then the capacity of absorption, that should be the debate, that when it goes there.
I don't know, because at some point I'll have a discussion, I'll invite people, UCDA and all, because I don't know, I would not agree with anyone that UCDA has been one of the top performers, but that's just my uninformed information for now.
Well,
I'll do some research into
I just want to look at it in the basis of the progress, the progress in terms of exports. If you're looking at it that way, at least there's been some bit of progress by the published reports.
Fair enough.
Of course, there are other players. So
there are other players like Operation Wealth Creation. They were issuing seedlings.
Those are minor.
Of course, but
they are there.
Pineti.
Oscar, sadly,
no, we didn't support Pineti.
The debate is not being informed by whether we think the role UCDA has been playing will be performed more efficiently if it goes into the mother ministry. It's now lost in the politics. And of course, when you're talking about coffee, it has other overtones. There are overtones of livelihoods which are dependent on it. There are overtones of people who identify with it. Lydia has mentioned Mbale. It's predominantly Buganda. It's predominantly coffee growing.
And West Nile. I've been to Zombo. They are coffee growing.
And then you remember the overtures of the Pineti style overtures that actually this coffee business, there's been egos hovering over it. So that is also on the backdrop of many of people who are opposing this. Then it goes back, because initially, Oscar, you asked about the conduct of the debate. For me, of course, it was overshadowed by the seemingly tribal slur from by the presiding officer. For me, even worse than the tribal slur is the partiality of the presiding officer, the seeming partiality. If you leave out that Buganda statement, that the fact that the presiding officer is checking with the chief of whether you have the numbers, that's even worse, possibly. Because as per the rules of procedure, and which have been even
neutral,
and they have been interpreted.
Can you mobilize?
The most recent constitutional court decision in the case of Zake said that the speaker should remain as impartial as possible in debate. They even compared the presiding officer to a judge, to the role of a judge. So for me, I don't even know which one is worse, whether the Buganda settlement is worse than the seeming partiality of and of course that's what I think Honorable Godith was saying, that what will happen to the product, because what is if you look at the process and how the process and the proceedings are going on, what product can come out of a process which is as partial, where we have a presiding officer descending to the arena of the debate and even choosing sides. So you cannot now take away the politics out of it, because and possibly we may not have a bill passed on the basis of whether it's right or not, but right now, of course, it's overshadowed by political overtones, and it's no longer the issue about rationalization.
Honorable Namuga, you were in Parliament, and maybe we are not yet. A long time ago, we discussed rationalization, but this morning I want to discuss how you conducted yourselves in Parliament regarding the rationalization bill. We see more division, shouting at each other, and yet we thought this process was coming to an end. What happened?
No, actually, we were doing our work. There was no division. But whenever you have such a contentious matter, those are expected. I want to thank all colleagues, the 77. I want to thank them for having stood with their people in regard to the coffee bill. And also to employ more colleagues from the NRM.
So the 77
yes
lost the bill. What did they lose?
It's not yet lost.
Okay.
We stood with the people.
The 77.
The 77, the 155 decided to stand with the president.
Right.
Because amidst all threats, if one can know what was inside there, messages, people were being pulled. Some of them had run to our side to come and sign for us.
Let's start from, with a better description.
Yes.
So 159 voted for what?
155 voted that the bill would proceed to the committee stage. And the second, yes. Right. Then the 77 were saying we shouldn't proceed. So we lost at that. Okay. But we've not lost on the entire bill. Okay. We've not lost.
So you're part of a 77
yes. that
did not want to proceed to the committee. Why don't you want that to happen?
First of all, I should inform the country that we are against the rationalization of UCDA as a sector. I do admit and agree that the government is very burdened financially, administratively. The administrative costs are too high, but that cannot compromise on services that we do give to the people. Coffee is a strategic key item. All I should say, it is one of our main exporters. Coffee, actually for us, we are supporting the coffee, dairy and the cotton. But for our colleagues, the speaker said, for you who come from coffee growing areas, leave the dairy to those who own it. Leave the cotton to those who own it. And our friends with the cotton said, for us, we are comfortable with rationalizing. And the cotton went. The dairy, they were comfortable with the dairy and the dairy went. Now we are saying that much as government wants to save 1.9 trillion from all the sectors, this is not the only area of saving. We can also look into other areas of extravagance. We look for ways of saving money than killing institutions that bring in an income. Look at all the merits that UCDA has, and you also look into the areas of generating locally raised revenues. UCDA would serve better if it is an independent authority than being mainstreamed in the ministry. Everyone was asking, because people think this is government. Yes, UCDA is government and the ministry is government. Why are you scared of having this back to the ministry? But I told you, I've had an opportunity. At least I was part of the budget committee, and now I'm on the accountability side. PAC, we've been looking at the performance of these entities. I told you, the entities are crippling. They have failed to utilize their budgets, number one. I told you about the key projects that have been in the Ministry of Agriculture. Number one was this issue of the foot and mouth disease. I told you we had millions of doses of vaccines expire in the stores, yet people wanted them out there. You had the issues of the goats. So we're saying, before you rationalize, why don't we prepare these ministries? Why don't you create proper structures so that we can be comforted that when this one becomes a directorate within the ministry, it can serve well? We've had bitter examples, which I thought the NRM government would take as a pilot. Number one, the Ministry of Science, Innovation and Technology, that is now under State House. I'm telling you, the ministry is in shambles. The staff have never, and now it is 3 years and a half. They've never settled. You have REA, the electrification agencies. Polls were put all over the country in 2018. Ever since we rationalized the REA, we have never had any single electricity line distributed to these different parts of the country. So we are saying we appreciate the financial constraints on the side of government, but that should not form a principle or main reason as to why you should rationalize these agencies. I should inform the country that this decision was hurried. The NRM government did not prepare enough. That is why when you look into their bills for all the agencies that were supposed to be rationalized, the objectives are general, the same. The defects are the general the same. They did not get time to look at these entities independently. And also the stakeholder engagement. Yes, in the first place they consulted, but for this second phase, or in line with with Mr. Museveni's directive, there was no a comprehensive stakeholder engagement. But still, our worry is, Mr. Museveni has always shown interest in having the coffee to himself. Don't forget the Penetti deal. It has not been buried. It is still there. So Penetti and that MOU, we still remember it too. Remember the 37 billion that was given to Mr. Rabogo for coffee value chain addition. We are asking, why do you give money to an individual for value addition? Yet we have a ministry and we have UCDA in place. Why don't you use the mainstream to have some of these activities handled? So it has been the intention of government. It has been the intention all the time for all these economic activities that seem to be productive to the people, boosting the incomes of the people. NRM wants to pull it to themselves. But I should say politically, because we are here for both politics and economics, Mr. Museveni is not happy with the people getting money. In any case, because of the monetization of politics, you can no longer give in the regions, coffee growing regions. People made money in this last season, so you cannot bribe somebody with 10,000 when they have the money. So that is also one of the areas that is looking at. Please pull the coffee side that you can monopolize. I'm telling you, the deal is to give coffee to Mr. Rabogo. That is why he was given money for coffee value addition.
Honorable Namuga, this rationalization thing has been on for quite a while.
Yes.
So, and the NRM has had a caucus on it and so on. So were you caught sleeping? I mean, you knew at some point this was bound to happen, that you'd have a discussion on it.
No, but we've always had discussions. In the first place, we all objected to the bill, even including of our colleagues of the NRM. I want to ask initially, what changed? Did they bring something different? The only difference is bring the same thing and a different directive. That is where we are. So, and when you I want to warn everyone out there, don't make this coffee thing tribal. Don't make it tribal, because it is circulating all over media. Don't make it tribal. This thing of make sure the Buganda don't get the numbers, we shall not get there. And I'm telling you, we had a press conference yesterday as Buganda caucus. Coffee is not for Buganda. This is for the whole nation. So don't make coffee tribal. Otherwise, when we get there, we shall lose it. And I want to inform whoever is involved, we are not going to entertain this bill anymore on the floor of Parliament, because my colleagues in the legal sector know that you cannot have a legislation that is sectarian, that is tribalistic. So automatically this bill collapses. I'm not a lawyer, but I want to inform the country, the coffee bill has collapsed and we shall not allow it to be read for the second time.
Yes, I don't know how you can stop it though with the numbers.
You wait. Yeah. You will see.
Okay.
You will see.
The Honorable Leader is both a lawyer and from a coffee growing area. You've had these discussions even at caucus, and at some point we thought you had agreed on everything. So are you surprised that when you get to Parliament there's then heated discussion about moving the bill forward?
For avoidance of any doubt, I come from Bale City, and it is the headquarters of
coffee in Uganda,
a community that grows Arabica coffee, the best coffee in the world.
And you might as well
it is also the community that has nothing to do with the coffee. It is also the community that has what would normally they call the surviving cooperative union. BCU still stands. We still have coffee farmers, and there is a license. Our people export coffee, so it's not a Buganda issue. Actually, I have to agree, it's a national issue, it's an international issue, and it's a historical issue. My community, actually, you cannot talk about Bugisu without mentioning coffee and circumcision, Kadodia, so and Malewa, 3 things, and Mount Elgon, 4 things. So anyway, I attended all the caucuses of the NRM that discussed both issues of rationalization, what they call the RAPEX, but also specifically on the issue of the UCDA. Listening to many members of Parliament, they were as passionate as we've seen on the floor of the House. But when they were in the caucus, they were convinced that government, which has the executive powers, is reorganizing departments and institutions, and that for the UCDA they will be given a window to take care of all the fears which were being raised in a transition of 3 years. That's what I heard.
An impression was created.
There will be a 3 years transition for UCDA, and I think NITAU, if I remember well, NITAU 3 years transition for two. But the principle stood that rationalization will happen. But the concerns which were raised about the incompetence of the Home Ministry, about the mandate. Interestingly, the UCDA Act has just been amended recently, but their biggest mandate, which I know, is they do the licensing, the regulatory, whatever. But and when people talk about Ministry of Agriculture, for me, my biggest interest has also been the Ministry of Trade, because coffee is an export crop, and it is under cooperatives. And for us who have cooperatives that didn't collapse, that run coffee as a society, we think that also Ministry of Cooperatives is very important. I've not heard them come out to speak so much or to make a case or against. I've seen only the people from Ministry of Agriculture. But those two must go together. Ministry of Trade and Cooperative must work together with the Ministry of Agriculture to make a case for rationalization of UCDA. What I heard from the caucus is that it will pass, and then it will be given a 3-year transition to address the concerns of what the members are raising. What has now entered Parliament looks like it's opposition-led. But even in the NRM caucus, they raised the same issues about coffee, and they were able to unpack and discuss and tell them how things are going to work, but they want to shed off the parallel structures. They want to shed off the overload of the cost of administration. If someone tells you, I'm the head of government and I'm reorganizing government, this is the executive function, you talk about the inefficiencies that I'm giving you 3 years to reorganize and to be able to speak to the concerns of the people. What else do I have to add, Oscar?
Fair enough.
That's the debate on the floor. The voices of, and I want to say that this is not an opposition issue. The problem, it happens when you make it political, because in politics you want to win, and sometimes you want to win at any cost. That's why sometimes you suffer tear gas and chiboko, because people want to win at any cost. It's
why are you pointing at me?
Because sometimes journalists, you come, you want to be neutral, but when you get to the field, you are partisan, you take sides, so you're beaten. So even as journalists, so the issue is that the 3 years transition should be given maybe clear steps to address the concerns of the members of Parliament, or even the growers of coffee of the committee. By the way, people look at it as the growers of coffee or members of Parliament, but coffee has kept Uganda's economy standing. So it's a purely, I'm even surprised that you people can say, if you come from this area, cotton talk, diary talk. No, this is a national issue, because the coffee's imports or exports go straight to the national treasury.
Okay.
Oscar, if you can allow something little,
the national
because
treasury.
I wanted to inquire
so
from Lydia.
it's a national issue.
Because,
you even pass the
because
UCDA
if we want to rationalize this within the next 3 years,
the transition,
the transition, why don't you prepare and then rationalize when you are ready? Because the thing is, what they are pushing for is now approve, rationalize as we prepare. Now we are asking, why don't you prepare and rationalize when you are ready?
Hold on, we're going to come back to that in a second.
But then how will you because when you amend the constitution, I mean the act, the UCDA Act, that's what I heard. You now work within what is pertaining. But remember that the campaign against the rationalization was so heavy that a decision had to be taken. But again, UCDA is a government department. So I don't know. Personally, I don't understand.
No, but I also
hold on,
as I also give her information. This is very little. As I also give her information, she knows the difference and the power between an authority and the government. The bureaucracy, the other side doesn't serve this side. That is why even some donors have shifted to giving government direct ministries money, and they have opted for off-budget support because of mistrust in government agencies. That is how far we've gone, Lydia. We should accept.
Let's go to Derek and then George, and then we'll look at
the general rule. In 1 second, the general rule is that there is a government on the land
for the people.
For the people, because the Museveni was elected by people. So for you to think that you see people's needs more than the chief executive of the country, I think it's post-mortem. The guy is in the government, he's rationalizing government, he has mobilized. I think you should sit down and see in the 3 years what must be done, and then you check. But for me, I come from Bugisu. We want government support under Ministry of Cooperatives. We have a stake there. Under Ministry of Agriculture, we have a stake there. The issues of the concerns have been listed. Changing a department or any department, coffee must, and I like the message of the message of Mengo. The Katikiro has said, grow coffee. Do not lose the sight on the goal, because with or without UCDA, coffee will grow and coffee will be exported. That's my take on this. The message is very key, and I think somebody else said it, but I like that one of the categories. My take home: grow coffee. You will grow and export with or without UCDA, because UCDA is a government department like any other.
Hogged the microphone.
And the coffee has been liberalized. The economy of Uganda has been liberalized. So you can have your license as a private company and export coffee.
These people speak a little bit. So Lydia says he likes Katikiro's message, but the Katikiro also says that we like the Coffee Authority. He said that. But that aside, Honorable Namuga, strange as it seems, this was very, very strange. Are there particular reasons for the Speaker to mobilize against a section of Parliament? And is this section of Parliament worth mobilizing against? Are you a dangerous group in Parliament? At some point, we have to address that, and then, since you are in Parliament, it was a question of mobilizing against you. Why not mobilize against the Bagisu, who are main coffee growers?
I should state that what happened is very regrettable of a presiding officer who we thought would be neutral to either party. And I also remember a statement that was made, whether you want or not, UCDA will be rationalized. During the course of the debate, whether you make noise, the Speaker, whether you make noise or what, it will be rationalized, whether you make noise or not. But I think at times that's why I said God is good, because if unfortunately if the microphone was muted, you wouldn't have known that statement was made, and out of 100 you only had just a small percentage. But for me, I believe there must have been a broader discussion than what that we had out in the media. But the question is, number one, there is a clerk who is supposed to be a public servant. How do you involve a clerk in mobilizing politicians? Go and see whether we have the numbers, because could be she was skeptical that we might move out and outnumber them. So please make sure you mobilize as we get back. Make sure you have the numbers. And they moved out and make the calls. There are so many people who are not around. They made the calls. I saw Honorable Nabanja running in. That wouldn't have been a problem, because that is all about that is about whipping, but not the clerk. The clerk cannot mobilize for NRM. The clerk is a public servant who is supposed to serve all of us. So I think there have been so many questions out there about the way we conduct Parliament, about the presiding officers, and I think God has brought it at the right time to learn from it. I don't know whether they will learn, but also this questions the independence of Parliament, the legislature, because we cannot work on directives. Because I don't think the presiding officer was doing it as an individual. No, there must be a very invisible hand. She must have been put on pressure, because I had calls were coming in all over, even right from the head of the state, you must rationalize. Our colleagues were being, they were being put on pressure. You must, the president directed.
As Lydia says,
no, for us it is an official position
with
of the party.
The
decision was passed. The resolution of SEC.
Oscar, whipping is okay.
There was no need for pressure.
But if you infringe on the independence of members, I should inform the country. I belong to the National Unity Platform. But when I represent, when I bring a position that is different from what the people of Maogola say, then I'm misrepresenting them. Because I must be bold to tell my party that, Honorable Mr. President, much as you are saying this, but the people of Maogola have a different view. They must be listened to. So when you look at whatever happened in the NRM, in Parliament, we are facing a challenge. We thought it was a policy shift. Little did we know that we are in a political shift. So when it becomes a political shift, then it becomes a different story. And when it comes to make sure these Buganda don't get numbers, I'm telling you, it has shifted differently. And we are going to mobilize the community. Yes, we must fight for our rights as the Baganda. But I want to...
But how do you correct the image in Parliament?
Who corrects the image?
You Buganda caucus. How can you stop
What did we do?
rhetoric?
What did we do? What did the Baganda... You tell the person who said it to correct. What did the Buganda caucus do? Is Buganda caucus at fault in any way? But I want to, in a humble way, I want to mobilize Ugandans because we still have this bill. It is still there. I mobilize you to give your MPs your position. MPs should represent their constituencies, not an individual. We are not working for Mr. Museveni alone. So get the ideas from your people, come and represent them. Okay. Otherwise, I should, lastly, for me, I normally want to look at things with objectivity. We understand we must run this country together. Because as they are in the ruling government, our duty is to put them to check. I want our colleagues to appreciate that once there is an error, executively withdraw, because at least the NRM can know. The Honorable Leader has been saying it outright that Mr. Museveni was voted by the people and is working for the people. Now, if you are working for the people, they are saying no.
And don't claim to say you are
and
more
they are saying no. No, we are more pro people than him because he's fighting the voice of the people. Oscar, the people are saying no to coffee. Then you are saying yes. So Mr. Museveni, who are you working for?
The coffee bill. Okay.
Hey,
but
the coffee bill, what are you working for?
There's a difference between a coffee and the department called UCDA. You see,
no, but these move together. You cannot separate them.
No, the sector was liberalized.
No, Lydia, and lastly, I should encourage all of us. We should embrace the spirit of private-public partnership. The private sector should not be seen as a competitor to government, because the government knows that there are those that we can do better with authorities, and that is why I was talking about the off-budget support. Now money goes direct to authorities than the ministry. Lastly, I can give you an example of NITA Uganda. There is a loan for expansion of network.
It is the reason why got that extension of 3 years.
Government knows that they will not get some funding because of those irregular dealings. They know it. And they are not afraid of losing it because for their interest is not to serve the people, but to serve themselves and their political party.
Which political party now?
The outgoing NRM.
We will be here.
Moses Biaruhanga sends a message to Honorable Namuga saying Honorable Namuga is telling lies, that since Rural Electrification Authority was rationalized, no rural electrification has been done. That's a lie. First of all, the projects that were ongoing by the time of rationalization were completed by the Ministry of Energy, and secondly, new ones have been started by the ministry, and he's gotten that information from the Permanent Secretary, Princess Irene Batebe.
Can I respond?
Yes, please. In 2 minutes.
I let them bring evidence. I have evidence of so many districts, including mine, where polls have stood for so many years. So they should bring evidence. It's not a matter of giving information here. And the minister has been reporting on that. And there was a move. If he doesn't know, there was a move to bring a motion to remove REA from the ministry. And I think they felt it was embarrassing, and that's why they dropped it. But they wanted to remove it from the ministry again. So he cannot claim to be performing better than it was when it was independent.
Okay.